you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hello, this is Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, the only thing that makes it official. I'm glad I have to sing that line after 16 years. 2,500 episodes. We bring you the most amazing minds, the most amazing authors, the most amazing stories, people that have shared their interests and to make your life better and improve you. Or else, damn it, you should check it out. It's free, too. I mean, what do we need to do, people, to get you guys further show your family, friends, and relatives? Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Facebook.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss. Those are crazy places that we have on the internet. Two amazing young man on the show with us today. We're going to be talking with Andrew Ackerman. He is the author of the latest book that came out in, I believe, May of 2025 called The Entrepreneur's Odyssey. And we're going to find out about what it's like to be a serial entrepreneur. You're probably sick of hearing about it from me. So we'll tell somebody else's stories for a change. 16 years. Yeah, he's always talking about stupid businesses. Anyway, guys, Andrew Ackerman is here, and he has some amazing businesses he's invested in startups, and we'll get into that. He is a serial entrepreneur turned early stage investor, innovation expert, professor, and author now. He invested in 70 plus startups and mentored hundreds more. He built his first startup as the top provider of web services to summer camps. Lots of mistakes. Luckily, none killed the company. Those are always good to survive. He managed a family office, incubated new ventures while managing hedge and private equity funds. He recruited to found an app for parents to organize digital memories. Can you leave the teenagers out of those? Oh, I'm just kidding. Parent jokes. Experience is what you get when you get what you don't want. All right, I'll leave that. Yeah, this bio is pretty interesting. You got like men here and TLDR. You're a fun little commentary we got. So we're going to get into it. Welcome to the show. Andrew, how are you?
I am awesome. You called me a young man. You've already made my day.
Yeah, I learned it from Carson. Always gas up your guess. So, I mean, you're at least, you can't be a day over 35.
I mean, not one day.
2. All right. Well, Andrew, give us your .coms. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
Yeah. If you're curious about me in general, it's Andrew, the letter B as in boy, Ackerman.com.
So, Andrew, give us a 30,000 overview of what's inside your new book.
Oh, okay. You may have heard of The Entrepreneur's Odyssey. So long story short, I've been told that I should describe it as the lean startup meets the alchemist, meaning that it's everything you need to know to make a startup from like, I got an idea, I'm pitching it at this kind of law firm in an evening event, all the way through to, hey, I just closed my first round of financing, but it's actually told like a story rather than a how-to guide. There's a fictional startup, fictional founder, kind of a pastiche of all the founders I've worked with, and it takes you through everything in memorable real-life scenarios.
Sometimes parables or stories that are examples of like a novel, and as you put it, textbook to novel, sometimes those play better with people. Like they by seeing someone else kind of from that third party thing instead of reading this. I've read tons of Tom Peters. I'm sure you have too, the Druckers, all the great books. But sometimes it's a little hard when someone's just going, hey, you do this, and you're just like, I don't understand how this really works. So
you want a confession?
Sure.
I hate reading business books. I hate them. Like even the really good ones, they're like dull, they're dry. I feel like we all hired the same ghostwriter in the Midwest, and it's anecdote, name drop. And then there's like a half-page summary at the end, and like the box or with the bullets. And you know what? If you just ripped out those end of chapters and stapled them together, you'd have a great 20-page PowerPoint. So it's tough. Even the really good ones. There are very, very few business books that are both good content-wise and good as books.
Yeah. I mean, I've loved a lot of great books. Tom Peters was somebody I read a lot of, and I used a lot of his stuff. What's interesting is sometimes the reverse engineering that people go through in books and business books to explain the lightning that happened in the bottle. Like, how was Steve Jobs, hit so many home runs? Some of it was fucking luck.
Well,
and some of it was just good people around him.
Well, you've hit all my nerves today, right? No, so it's like, it's history by anecdote, right? It's like, well, Steve Jobs put his left foot in his pants first, so that must make a great entrepreneur. Well, dude, half the country does that, right?
No, you're supposed to do the left side first?
I don't know. I made that up.
Yeah, that explains why I'm broke.
But I'll give you a great example which illustrates, I guess, maybe the thing I have in common with Steve Jobs. Like, tons of mistakes, but none of them killed the company. You know that story they have about Gorilla Glass? The whole story. Like,
you want to tell it to us?
Oh, so he comes in one day and he's like, "We can't ship." He's like, "Why not?" And he takes his phone out and there's like scratches all over the glass. He goes, "I put it in my pocket with my keys. It's all scratched. I can't ship this phone like this." So they went out and they changed the glass they were going to use. They developed, or they found this Gorilla Glass they have now. He set the production schedule way back. Cost them untold millions, tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars. But everyone holds this up as like, man, you got to be maniacal about your product. Mm-hmm. My feeling is that was dead wrong. I'll ask you a question. Your phone right now, is there a chip in it?
Not this one. I have phones with chips in them, though. I have a bunch of phones.
How often or how many times have you had a phone with a big crack in it and you've walked around like that for over a month because you can't be parted from it for the hour and a half it takes them to fix the glass?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And by the way, if you put your phone in your pocket with a sharp metal object and it got scratched, would you call that Steve Jobs' fault or you being a dumbass?
Me being a dumbass, but yeah. I'm kind of weird that way. I'm not
everyone, like anyone. Oh man, I put sharp metal against glass and it's scratched. Who would have thought, right? Okay, so here you have a product that is so sticky that even with big cracks in it, people will not take it out of their cold dead hands. They can't be parted with it long enough to fix the screen. Mm-hmm. So that shows me that like a little bit of scratches on the screen wasn't the thing he should have optimized for. He could have shipped it. Version 2 would have been new glass, new and improved, and nobody would have said boo.
No one would have said boo. It's interesting that way. I mean, he was meticulous at what's that famous story about the color yellow in the original iPhone? He was like obsessed with the shade of yellow, and I think he called his team and went, "This is the wrong yellow." And you're like, "Okay, dude." Whatever. I think that's the story if I recall correctly.
Yeah, no, there's tons of stories like that. You ever hear of a guy called, seemingly enough, Guy Kawasaki?
Yeah. So
I like his approach a little better. And before I use all his quotes, like, what is this PG-13 or say what you want?
Say what you want.
Okay. So one of his favorite quotes, he's got really good, one of my favorite quotes of his, and he's got a lot of good ones. Is like, principle number 1, fuck it, ship it. Right? He's like, and number 2, similar related to it. It's like, if you don't look back at version 1.0 of your product and cringe at how disgusting and how primitive it looked and how ugly it looked, you waited too long to ship. Right? If you've developed something that's really solving a painful problem, I mean, really the kind of thing people really care about, they will take the half-finished product out of their hands. They can't wait to get their hands on it.
Yeah.
Right, so ship it as soon as possible. Get it in front of customers as soon as possible. Like, it's easier to iterate on software than hardware, obviously, but you do the best you can. You just get out there faster. Right?
Yeah, and sometimes I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Sometimes you need that feedback or testing from people to tell you what's wrong. Like, it's amazing to me how many people ship products and they can't see the fallacies of that product. And sometimes you need that feedback.
Bubble, right? They have this big vision, right? And they're like, I got to build this. And then like, they don't realize that like half the things they just built, no one cares about. And if you get a team where they're strong about certain things, you kind of retreat to the things that you're good at, even if that's not the most important thing for the company.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a joke if you want. This is one of my few PG jokes.
Okay.
But it's on point.
PG jokes.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of PG jokes. Most of my jokes are not safe for. So this old guy is in the middle of the street in the middle of the night, looking down, just like looking down. And his friend is like, hey, Chris, man, what's wrong? What are you doing in the middle of the street at night? And he says, I lost $20. So his friend says, okay, Chris, let me help you look for it. So down after like 10 seconds, it's the middle of the street. Like there's not a lot of places for $20 to be.
Yeah.
So he says, gee, Chris, I don't see it. Where exactly did you lose it? So the old guy says, down that alley. And I go, well, geez, Chris, like if you lost the money in the alley, what are we doing in the middle of the street? Well, the light's better. But that's exactly what founders do, right? So honestly, let's say you got a technical team, right? They're really good at like shipping product. And something's not working, they're just going to keep on putting out new features. Like, if I just fix the user experience, or I just fix new features, then it'll all click. But really, guys, like, you have a problem here, you're not selling it right, maybe. Right? So you got to go out there and you got to do the marketing, you got to go talk to the customers, but they're not good at that. So they retreat into what they're comfortable with. Or you have the other one where you've got guys that can sell ice to Eskimos, and it's not working, and he's like, well, I'll just try a different channel. I'll just try different ways to sell it. Well, hey, you got to go back to basics. Maybe your product's not what they want. So we're all guilty of retreating into our comfort zones, or as the joke would put it, where the light's better for us personally.
Yeah. I remember that I can cite that in a lot of different things, but I remember the Path app was that way. When the Path app came out, it had a Facebook UI killer, and it had a beautiful UI. They'd done just an amazing job with it. But there was one caveat that I knew would fail, and I could have bet $1 million that it would fail. And I wrote, I don't know, whatever the dude was, and the failure point was it focused on this naive sort of experience that you only can really, if we've had hundreds of thousands of followers on Twitter and Facebook, LinkedIn, all that shit, and YouTube, and there's a certain scale you need to have a successful community. You may not be talking to 5,000 or 6,000 or 20,000 or whatever the hell it is on my Facebook, but the scale of the filter down, that funnel, like a sales funnel of numbers of people that follow you and numbers of people who interact or occasionally see your stuff and convert, what converts and what you interact on a daily basis with, you need to have that. And so by them running at 50 max followers that you can have, that's what Path app did, is they locked it in, where on Facebook and other places you can have LinkedIn 60,000, 5,000 on Facebook. But by locking it at 50, that means if you run the scale of numbers, you're maybe going to find people you're going to talk to every day. Yeah. And so I wrote them and I go, this is the dumbest limit you do. This will kill the app. You have built this beautiful eye that is a Facebook killer, but you're cutting off your nose to spite your face on this one fucking thing. And I can't remember if I ended up talking to him or not, because we had similar friends with Robert Scoble and stuff. And I think he was having lunch with him at the time. And I was like, this is the dumbest thing. You have to change this one fucking thing. You built something that could beat Mark Zuckerberg. But
So first of all, I remember Path really, really well. That was David Morin. It was 2013 plus or minus. I know it really well because Bunk One, my first startup, one of the biggest features within this internet service for summer camp startup was the photo gallery, and it was parents going back to see pictures of their kids at camp. Yeah, right. One of the parents said that was like crack for summer camp parents. Like, refresh. Hit refresh is not going to change the photographer having not taken more photos yet, but they were all over it.
But it gave you great. What's the thing people love with apps like that? Great
stickiness, engagement. Yeah, depending on. But for those 2 months of the year, and then it was like crickets for the other 10. But that's a different story. The theory behind it was if you had 50. The theory is like you only really have 50 close friends, and but you're right. My 50 close friends, they all have lives, so they're not going to be online all the freaking time. Which means that if I'm on and they're not. Even if not exactly on, you're just hearing crickets. That was it. And I think towards the end, after they raised a bunch of money, they realized and they raised the limit, but that moment had passed.
Yeah, they missed the hit. That's what your story.
200 at the end.
Yeah, and even 200 was like too small. I mean, I recently sat down with the Facebook came to me and said, I think they did this with a bunch of people just recently, and they said, hey man, you've got it looks like I've got 8.3 thousand followers on Facebook, and you need to either convert to a fan page if you want to keep those followers, or you can just keep your 5,000 friends. And recently I sat down and looked at my 5,000 friends, and you would be surprised. I mean, many of these people have been with me since I got on the internet in 2008, 2009 and created the Chris Voss brand. And I don't know them, intimately, or we're having lunch together. I know a lot about their lives over the 16, 17 years I've been on. I mean, I went through a whole mess of them, and I was looking for people I could delete. I was like, I have like 17-year relationships with this, and some of these people, it's pretty loose, but I know their faces. I know some of their posts. I know some of their stories over 17 years. And so you could say, well, you only you hang out with maybe 10 people or something. It's not really true. And sometimes, like my birthday, they all come out. I come out for their birthdays, and some of these people, I kind of know their stories. In fact, it was kind of interesting to me to see how many people had passed away or disappeared during COVID, which I can only imagine what happened. But yeah. So if you want, let's curve back to the book, because I kind of took us off on the hating path tangent. It was so beautiful. I mean, it was he had
a very well designed app.
He had it. It was there. He had all the shit that was missing. He had shit that made it intimate, and just that one fatal flaw that was guaranteed. You could have given me any amount of money, and I would have bet $1 billion that fucking thing was going to fail on that one issue. Anyway, so The Entrepreneur's Odyssey. Tell us about who's the character in it. Is there a character? Tell us about him and how he goes through this story.
Yeah, so let me add, I'm working on answering the questions first before going into the whole build-up. So the main character, Marcus, is an entrepreneur. He has an idea for something he's been working on for a while. And then he ultimately runs into an angel investor named Jason at a pitch event. Mm-hmm. And Jason's like, yeah, you're all wrong, but there's something good here. And Jason ends up taking him under his wing and mentoring him through the process, customer discovery. They pivot, to use the P word. It happens, right? They pivot into something that's same but different. Mm-hmm. Then ultimately, through finding the right co-founder and through everything that you need to do to make a successful startup, right into and including the fundraising process and closing the round. Now, the thing I was going to segue into, but I kind of pulled myself back. I got to answer the question first. Is all the characters in the book, almost all of them, are actually based on real people. Mm-hmm. And I did it because I'm not that good a writer. I did it because, I write a lot. I write a lot of articles, like 70, 80 articles for the trade press and the startup press. But those are all like 500 to 800 words, and they're all my voice. And nothing's one of the things that's really annoying about books is when all the characters kind of sound the same. Mm-hmm. So I wanted them all to sound very particularly different. So the angel investor, Jason, is actually named partially based off of a guy, John Asen, who was one of the OGs of the New York startup angel investing scene, who I knew pretty well. And we actually did a trip to South Korea together, but that's a different story. Mm-hmm. He passed a couple of years ago. But, that character is kind of an amalgam of him and me. Mm-hmm. And Marcus is actually based on one particular founder who had a way of talking and a way of thinking about things. And anytime I wanted to put words on paper that were Marcus's words, I just kind of visualized this other entrepreneur saying it. I'm like, okay, that's how Marcus has to sound.
Mm-hmm. And so you tell the story. Now, what kind of entrepreneur is this? Is this an entrepreneur that's going to identify with a lot of, if I'm out there listening and I'm I'm not a Silicon Valley guy. I'm not like, Mr. Startup guy. Let's say I'm a first time entrepreneur. I want to make things work. Is this going to be at my level of
absolutely. This is a guy who's, the archetypical working in a large company for a couple of years, 10 years in plus or minus. He's like, man, I've been doing this, I've been doing that, but I got this idea that's going to be huge. It's got to be huge. It will be huge. I finally got my my courage up to go out there and jump out and do it on my own. Mm-hmm. So that's the kind of guy. It's not, to write for Bill Gates to get better. Sorry, not Bill Gates. Steve Jobs or 4-time founders to get better isn't really a big audience. This is for everybody who's building a startup or thinking about building a startup.
And I mean, I think a lot more people are going to be into entrepreneurism with AI. What's happening with AI? There's going to be a lot more layoffs with AI. I think Amazon, or I'm not sure I got that right. Somebody announced today there's a rumor flying around. There's going to be 30,000 layoffs, but usually it's from a good source, evidently. And I believe it is. Yes, Amazon targets as many 30,000 corporate job cuts. We've heard Mark Benioff kind of bragging about how much he loves laying off people with AI. I'm kind of insinuating his words a little bit, but that's kind of how I came off the cuff. And so I think that's going to create more of an entrepreneurial sort of society. Maybe, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think is going to come out of the AI layoffs? Are we going to maybe find more people that sell, coach? What do you see the vision of that?
So a couple different ways to take this. So number one, like entrepreneurship and startups can mean a lot of different things. The kind of startups I deal with and I invest in are like the archetypical tech startups, right? Like big data kind of SaaS software or, direct to consumer apps, that kind of thing. But they're also like, hey, I've always wanted to start a photography studio. I just got laid off. I got nothing to lose. Let's do it. Right. Or let's become a consultant or become a career coach. Those are also entrepreneurs. Those are also startups. They're a different kind of startup. In fact, in some ways, they're a special case of a tech startup. A tech startup is like, we don't know anything about it. We don't know if people want it. We don't know if they'll pay this kind of money. We don't know, in theory, we don't even know if the tech will work the way we want it to work. In a small business startup, like, yeah, we know how a gas station works. We know how a dry cleaner works. The only thing we don't know is that top line, like how much money can we bring in revenue at the top. But it's all entrepreneurship at its base. And even if you're working inside a large company, I would argue that you need to have the same kind of entrepreneurial mentality to be the one that's not laid off. You have to be like, oh my God, this AI stuff is cool. I want to play with it. Right?
Yeah.
You have to be not like I'm worried about it. Not like, oh, I got 10 years left. Can I coast out without having to learn anything new? You got to be like, oh my God, this is great. I never want to retire. Right? It's just getting more and more fun. Now, in the long run, this is to answer the other question. Like resources don't go unused. Right? If there are people available, we'll use them for something. Short run is very disruptive, but in the long run, like we will use people for it. And AI isn't going to replace people so much as replace what people do. So take vibe coding, right? So the idea that we can use AI to actually program, which is very cool. There's certain things it can do really easy, and there's certain things it can't do, and there's certain things that are only possible using AI. So the theory I've heard that I most believe here is that a lot of vibe coding is going to be used for the stuff that was too small to get anyone from IT to do for you.
Yeah.
Hey, that's not a big deal. It doesn't move the needle for the company. Well, now everyone can vibe code. I can solve my problem for myself. And it's also going to be used a lot for the stuff that like, hey, I could never build anything like this without AI. It's that middle area that, it's going to be changed the most. The kind of stuff where I've got programmers working on it right now. I would build it for the company, but AI can do a pretty damn good job on its own. So those kind of roles are going to be, we need fewer and fewer of them. But then you're going to use them more in other capacities.
Maybe auditors for AI, because there's when AI hallucinates, creates some pretty interesting stuff.
But I thought you were going to say you can replace a lot of accounting roles. You can replace a lot of compliance roles. You can do that. Again, the hallucination thing gives everybody pause.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all comes out. But imagine the future. We're just going to be more people that are selling what we know and our time than maybe anything. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where all that ends up and goes. What do you hope people come away with when they read your book?
So a couple of things, right? So if you're sitting in your corporate office, your corporate cubicle thinking like, I got this, but what's it really mean to be an entrepreneur? I want you to get two things out of it. One, this is what I got to do, right? These are kind of the steps. It is a step-by-step guide. But equally important, I want you to get the sense of what it feels like to be an entrepreneur. Right? You can't get that from a how-to book. You got to understand, these are the risks. You're looking at your bank account go down every month and hoping that it starts to go up again before you run out. Like the analogy is like we jumped off a cliff. Maybe we can build like a parachute before we hit the ground. Or better yet, an airplane.
We can build. I like that analogy. Maybe we can build a parachute before we hit the ground.
Yeah.
Sounds like every business I ever started.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Like it's a fundamentally stupid thing to do in a lot of ways. You know, I know people who are like, if you're asking me, should I do a startup? The answer is no. Right? You got to do a startup only because you can't possibly live without ever doing it. Now, that said, I will say there are better and worse times to do it.
Yeah.
You could be sitting in that office and you're thinking about it. Hey, if you're married and your spouse has a good job with healthcare and you got a little bit of savings and you don't have kids, your kids are really young. So like, you're not, a lot of costs against them yet. Like that's not a bad time. Right, you're presumably far enough in your career that you got the good relationships. You know what a real pain point in your industry is. Your spend is fairly low. That may be the best time to do it. Like when your kids are in college and maybe you're going to get into college and you're in peak savings mode, and maybe your wife's not working or your husband's not working, or they're an independent contractor and they don't have health care. That's maybe not the best time to do it. But like that's the sense of like, this is what it really feels like to be an entrepreneur that, you can only get from a story. You can't get that from a how-to guide. And then obviously for the people who are doing a startup, like right now, oh my God, like take 2 days off, just read the book. It'll save you a lot of mistakes. Like learn from someone else's mistakes. Don't learn from your own if you can avoid it.
Yeah. Definitely learn from other people's mistakes, because the ones you do your own are kind of painful and expensive sometimes, really, when it comes down to it. So, it's something more people need inspiration from. I like how you put it together as a novel and help people walk through stuff and how to build a startup. Do you teach people in the book how to scale, or do you maybe have other books maybe you're going to add to this?
Yeah, listen, one book at a time, right? So, let's get this one out first. So this book is really all about building it, getting it to those, like that initial, like we call it the seed round, right? And it also includes like finding the right person to be your, goes to market with you. But I don't talk about, I don't focus that much on the sales process. I focus on customer discovery because you need to know what you build. But the whole enterprise sales cycle is maybe for a different book.
Oh, every mile counts, as they like to say. So there you go. So let's see. As we go out, anything we might have missed, anything you want to plug or anything like that before we go?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about a couple other things. So this is on part of what I do, right? So first of all, if you're doing a startup, go ahead, grab the book. It will save you a lot of pain and suffering. And there's a lot of funny puns in it, right? So like, it's a novel guide to startup success. And if you look down at the cover, like you'll see a guy in front of this maze. The guy's got a chainsaw. He's like hacking his way through. So that's kind of my sense of humor. I think it's a funny book. People have told me that, but who knows? No one tells you you're not funny to your face other than, your teenage daughters who will tell you that
YouTube.
over and over again.
People on YouTube or Twitter.
But, just this is kind of a part of what I do. So I also deal with the other side of the fence, which is like large corporations who have set up innovation teams or corporate venture funds or accelerator or venture studio. And, they're just not working and they don't know why. So like, behind the scenes, I have a much kind of more buttoned down approach, a much more buttoned down set of clients where I talk about those kinds of things.
Well, it's been fun to have you on the show and talk about entrepreneurism, my favorite subject. Been an entrepreneur since I was 18, so I have all the scars to prove it. I can show you, but they're pretty gross. Anyway, but any other advice you want to give to entrepreneurs as we go out, Andrew? Yeah,
this one I heard early in my career, so I'm gonna share it with your audience. Like the number one skill you can have as an entrepreneur is empathy. Right? Empathy, not just sympathy. Oh, I feel bad for you, but empathy. Oh, I feel how you feel. I know exactly how you feel. I was there before. The reason for that is if you can put yourself that completely in someone else's shoes, you're going to be able to tell what moves your customer. You're going to be able to tell why they feel the pains that they do and how do you solve them. You're going to be able to understand what motivates your investor and how to speak their language and get them to want to invest. Like it's going to help you across the board. So cultivate that ability to see things from other people's perspective, to feel it the way they feel it, and it'll pay dividends across the board.
I love that. What a great concept. I mean, that's the big thing about being an entrepreneur. You're solving people's problems or their pain points and making it so that they can get what they want done. It's good to have. Good to have. So thank you very much for coming to the show. We really appreciate it, Andrew. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Thank you. And thanks to us for tuning in. Order up the book wherever fine books are sold. The Entrepreneur's Odyssey by Andrew Ackerman. You can find it out May 2025. And you can learn more about how to be an entrepreneur. You don't know what's coming in the future, man. And the great thing about being an entrepreneur is being able to control your future. I mean, there's all sorts of things and stories you've heard over the Chris Voss show over the years, and different things that happen in the world. And sometimes working for yourself is better. So I think some people can get it. So thank you very much, Andrew, for coming to the show. Thanks to us for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTok, and all those crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next time. And that should have us out, Andrew. Great show.